Alex Answer here. It is June 12th, 2018 at the moment of recording. Still don't have the internet here at home. I've been discussing the idea of disconnecting from the Matrix in order to maintain my own humanity, seeing that I'm seeing an epidemic of people losing their compassion in this society. And I can even see how we can become emotionally reactive to the overstimulus on the internet. So I've been thinking about those things, the things that are most important to me, the things that I value, and why I keep coming back to YouTube despite the way that it's thrown some of us under the bus. It's just under the bus, just back up, drive over, and and then once in a while we can see a little bit of success. But to me, success isn't monetary. Success is in helping waking people up, not waking people up, but helping to be a part of that process. Because there are people on YouTube that at one point in their life, they were a part of a process of waking up a younger, I'm still young, I'm 38, I'll be 40 within a few years, but a younger Alex Ansary. I can thank other people on YouTube for being there, for being an example. You know, that feeling that happens when you go, oh my God, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. There's somebody else that sees what I see. Once in a while, I'll hear from elements of the audience that may record their own video sharing their own experiences because of something that inspired them on this channel. It doesn't happen too often. It happened recently. I just saw a comment. And again, I've been mostly offline, so I just saw the comment recently. And he noted that he put together a video based on some subject matter that was discussed on this channel. And I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and share that video. I'm going to leave the link down below so you can become his 6th subscriber. I subscribed at number 5. His 7th subscriber. His 8th subscriber. It's good to get a shout out, even from someone just starting out on YouTube. And it's good to also send that energy back, right? So check out his work. We'll watch his video, and I'll come back, and I'll talk about some of the ideas.
Hey YouTube, search for the truth, coming right back at ya. Man, sorry, this video might be a little bit all over the place, but I got a chance to sit down right now. Not a lot of work today, so I'm just get a chance to collect my thoughts a little bit. Anyways, I was watching. Sorry about that. I was watching Alex Ansary's video. I don't know if I only have like 4 subscribers, but if any of you guys happen to watch his channel, I would suggest checking out his social commentary and just basically all of the content Alex Ansary puts out is A1 quality. You don't get a social perspective like what he gives basically anywhere else on YouTube. And me myself, I don't align with any specific religion or political affiliations, so that's one thing I have in common with him. So Alex, if you're watching this, hey man, I love your videos, dude. I've been watching you since probably about 2015. I've commented a little bit, you know, here and there, but anyways, I love your comment. And if anybody wants to check out his YouTube channel, it's spelled ALEXANSARY. So anyways, topic of this video though, it's about this rise in and I noticed it specifically amongst women, how basically pets and specifically dogs are the main attractor of their attention. Specifically with me, my ex, and my child's mother, the last time I was still with her, it wasn't uncommon for her, you know, to leave me laying in bed alone and she'd go down on the ground and cuddle with the dog. It was fucking weird. And I thought it was just her, but after getting back in the dating scene, I see a lot of other women are like this. And even on some of these dating websites, which I have been on just to kind of feel out and see what they're like. By the way, they are so fucking toxic, I don't even suggest a single one. They're really just like huge energy harvesting centers. Anyways, these women will post things like, only interested in your dog, or just stupid, scary things. They'll post these things on their profile. And one thing I noticed too is how women are attracted to military men, and just overall human compassion is at an all-time low. Um, what is attractive to these women about men in uniform going over and killing other innocent women and children at the orders of other men behind desks? Like, how is that a turn on to you? A man receiving orders from another man, not even being his own individual, and jumping in some clone uniform, going over and killing innocent lives, all because it was an order. Who the fuck thinks that's right, or let alone attractive? It's such a fallen world. If I didn't have a child, I really wouldn't care about even living much longer on this earth. It is such a fallen world. It's honestly depressing, the human condition, the lack of empathy, the lack of compassion. It's scary. It's honestly like we are under archonic influence, severe brain control. I don't even know. It's too much to handle at times. The only thing that keeps me going on is smoking some good weed. No Xanax, no pills, no alcohol, none of that for me. Just good organic food and good organic weed that I grew myself. So, anyways, I just wanted to address the lack of compassion I noticed, especially amongst females. And I'm just asking, what's up with that? Peace.
I think there was actually a lot there. Even though the video was only like 4 or 5 minutes, there was actually a lot of important points that were shared there. Sometimes I can just go on and on and on. And today I have a number of different things, important issues that I feel like discussing, right? But I'm breaking them down into separate videos, so they will be separate uploads instead of one giant long 1 hour upload. I think that'll be easier for elements of the audience, which I would like to see grow. I think it'll be easier for them to digest. By the way, I will be uploading daily, 11 o'clock my time. That'll be 10 o'clock for those of you waking up on the West Coast. That'll be 12 o'clock for those of you taking your break in Texas, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. There'll be some kind of an upload from me. So I'm coming back swinging hard after a period of experiencing some burnout. And where does some of this burnout come from? Let's come back to this topic of compassion. It's difficult to see the lack of compassion in today's day and age. It's difficult at times to see it missing from family members, from the women in our lives, or the missing women, the women that aren't in our lives, could be an issue in and of itself. And that is not easy for today's human being. He talked about dating apps, and I think it's interesting that Craigslist has removed its personal section because of concerns about human trafficking. It's actually not very funny. There actually is a lot of prostitution that goes on those mediums, whether they're involving minors or not minors. And I would even say that relationships today have incorporated the basic principles and building blocks of what is prostitution. And as rents go up and as affordable housing increasingly becomes an issue for many people, it affects relationships. Now, I'm inspired by this video to go into some other areas, and in another video I'll be talking about the media influence over human relationships and ultimately how it contaminates the balance between the masculine and the feminine. But let me just say this in brief in the moment. It is distressing to see what he also sees, and it is widespread, still to this day, support for these wars that seem designed to not only, of course, destroy lives overseas, but bankrupt our own nation. And this nation has seemingly a endless budget with government jobs, military jobs, and what happens when those jobs are no longer available? including jobs for police, jobs for those in uniforms. You have a chaotic situation. And I think that we're heading towards these chaotic situations, and that our society has fallen out of balance with only seeing one element of society as those that are there to protect and serve. Police and military. Well, what about other men? What about the traditional role of men? I haven't spoken about this in a while. And why did I go off the grid? It was to step away from these things that were upsetting me. That's why some of my best content was actually shot in Portland, because I was in pain witnessing those things. It doesn't mean that I'm still not in a state of pain. I want to heal from my pain, but that doesn't mean that I should stop talking about those things. I should actually come back to those issues that I've been talking about for years with a stronger stance, because we need to survive this spiritual warfare. And we need to look beyond like, oh, it's a war on men. Oh, it's a war on women. It's a war on humanity, because there is clearly a new world order war on the minds of women. I've been saying that for over 6 or 7 years. Actually, much, much longer. But I have YouTube videos getting into that, literally word for word. The New World Order. The New World Order's war on women. Alex Hansery, copyright 2012. Off the grid, Costilla County. Here we are, 2018. How have we seen the evolution of the New World Order's war on women? Social engineering and conditioning for there to be a strong sexual desire for the men that go out and kill, even if there's information that shows that there is another agenda. Going now to another point that he made, also relevant in the title that he chose. Lack of compassion, more compassion for pets than human beings. And so when you have cities that go in a more lustful direction for the table dancer, or whether or not she's table dancing, or whether or not she's just a barista, the love of the young female body. And then places in cities like Portland and other places that it's almost as if our base society or base biology is based on that. And it doesn't mean that sexuality is wrong or attraction to a female is out of balance with nature. The out of balance with nature comes when that's all people see. And they're not also valuing what's inside of her or encouraging her to be a better woman, to show her loving, feminine, nurturing, compassionate self. There is a strong push to change the nature of what a woman is. A modern woman today, even in 2018, is a very different description of a woman, say a modern woman, in say the year 2006, 2007. Those were actually a lot more easier to get along with. Women of just one decade ago. So much has changed in 10 years. I've also heard people say that it's just an illusion to talk about masculine and feminine energy. There's just energy. It's us that gets in this mindset of separating the two. There's men and there's women, or males and females. But maybe we get a little sidetracked with talking about the sacred masculine and sacred feminine. When it comes to loving energy, when it comes to protecting energy, nurturing energy, that doesn't necessarily have to be broken down into masculine and feminine. And it might even cause some confusion. There's already enough gender confusion. Let me just say this. Whether we are males or females, things like compassion, things like empathy, things like humanity, things like nurturing, things like protecting your children or trying to educate your children about the real world they live in and trying to help them become more moral people, these things shouldn't be associated with males or females, but just a more conscious human being. As pessimism and nihilism and hatred grows within our society, we see more people left out in the street where pets, in many cases, are not. And I've seen firsthand, even in rural communities, there could be a Facebook page for lost pets. Oh yeah? Is there a Facebook page for lost humans? Is there a Facebook page for... I've seen people start Facebook pages, unheard voices for the homeless. There'll be like a few hundred members. Someone could post something and there'll be very few replies. The intention is there and it's growing because more people are suffering, and you'll find it's usually not the rich that are behind those websites. It's people that are poor themselves or off-grid themselves or mobile themselves or migrating themselves. On a spiritual note, perhaps people that have souls that have actually been through those experiences before, but may not at the moment, either in this life or another. And I see this as another expression of our fallen state, when just because that pet doesn't argue back, just because that pet gives compassion, just because that pet has what am I going to say? Electromagnetic energy of a natural form that's healing. Just like the sun, as long as you don't get too much of it, just the right balance. But there's something healing, I believe, about humans having a connection with other forms of life. And there's something strong about animals, but there's also something strong about the human animal. But see, and I'm going to talk about this again in another video, how the media contaminates relationships between men and women and the pushing of fear. There isn't that same type of propaganda. We're also complex human beings that are actually socially engineered to expect a great deal from the opposite sex. And the expectations of what a man should live up to or should conform to seem far greater than ever before. Again, we go back 10 years, and even my relationship with males, not always to be confused with men, but males on this planet. Much more of a sense of unity and community amongst us in the truth movement 10 years ago. Today, it's like people are only associating for the most part, unless it's based in some sort of selfish or monetary purpose, or looking really cool, or being a part of a clique. There are exceptions to the rule. You may be an exception to the rule. I think there's something unique about elements of my audience. My audience numbers are not large for a reason. It's about the quality. It's not about telling a lot of people what they want to hear with a lot of talking points. If I choose to go on that route, I could grow my channel in a profound way. I would like to grow my channel in a great way, in a positive way, by being true to myself and keeping it real. Even if the topics aren't popular, I see the value in videos that I've done 5 years ago where people are still getting something from it. And the video is 5 years old. My commentary on relationships or off-grid living or something to that effect, over 5 years old. And I was in a much more painful situation in my own life. I didn't even have an acre that I was making payments on. In some cases, I was literally living in a vehicle. But yet, the research I was doing, the ideas that I was sharing, somehow, some way, it's still reaching people in similar circumstances, including those good men that have been left behind. Some are working. Some may not be working in a few years. Some may not be working now. There's a lot of poverty being experienced by many audience members. That part is clear. And so how do we help each other keep our heads consciously above the water as we wake up to how uncompassionate this world is? I'll just say this. I don't have all the answers. I have suspicions, right? But we're not really victims by being born here. If there's something about us that's able to see the lack of compassion, we need to use those gifts. There's something inside us that hasn't been destroyed yet by what could be called the God of this world. Now, my fellow Jedis, we must begin to see more clearly than we've ever seen before, as I see a much more blue day as opposed to yesterday, major haze from a 10,000 plus acre fire within driving distance, other fires in the state, other evacuation plans. We're living on the edge. There's a reason I live on the edge. There's a reason I live off the grid in Colorado during wildfire country, during one of the driest years in decades. It's because of the fires taking place in the minds and hearts of men and women that aren't necessarily fires of the positive. And I remember what it was like to be in Lower Hearst Park during that 1 year. living in my 85 Toyota pickup, the canopy in the back, later a homemade teardrop camper for under $1,200 with a fellow YouTuber. Back in the day, late 2014, early 2015, and during those periods sitting at Laurelhurst Park and seeing women closer to animals than, say, what they may perceive to be a lower class, lower income young man that's probably homeless, all by himself, with emotion of pain. Not too different than an animal. Red eyes for maybe tears within the day, walking in the park in circles, and then experiencing fear. Not compassion. They were afraid of me. They were afraid of me. And I would sit in that feeling for hours and hours and hours as they were afraid of me. In that same park in the city of my birth, in which my mother took me to ride my little bike. My mother. My father. You watch that video, Alex Ansary at the age of 12, and I'm talking to my dad. Those were better times between my dad and I because it was a little boy. It was a different time and age. I think my dad was much kinder. It's like I have these positive memories of Laurelhurst Park with my mother and my father at different times in my life. To come back to Laurelhurst Park, where I've spent many times in my adulthood while hosting Outside the Box, tapping into nature. It's a very beautiful part of Portland, but it also represents the coldness. Years later, gravitating there as a homeless person, even seeing ex-coworkers and even ex-friends, or people that had seen me, and it's like, oh, Alex is part of that class of people. He's not to be touched. He's an untouchable. He's in that cast now. And so Laurelhurst Park, this beautiful park in Portland, Oregon, that was such a critical part of my, I guess, city park experience. Even when we were living in Aurora, south of Portland, we would come up where my dad and my mother take me, even though they weren't even together and they lived in different places. Laurelhurst Park. It would be Laurelhurst Park that would school me in my face that despite my years of being on cable TV and discussing Portland issues, women would still be closer to a dog than a human being. Most of all, one that's trying to raise the alarm about a number of things and promote the protection of the feminine, not this widespread rape of nature. A person doesn't have to lose themselves as a result of that, or begin to hate those people that fear the person with less. What they need to do then is evolve, and in a way, give compassion to those people without compassion, in an almost silent, meditative, spiritual way. Because people on this earth right now, we see so many of them that don't even know the first thing about compassion or karmic law, natural law, what goes around comes around, the basic fundamentals of cause and effect. These are very young souls that are here on the earth to grow. There's a lack of compassion for innocent people being killed overseas. Well, this is going to come to haunt the United States. There'll be a time, possibly within our lives, where we are begging the rest of the world to have compassion for us when war crimes are committed against us or our fellow countrymen and women. This is this waking, not having nightmares and waking up screaming. This is my waking vision, not something I want to see happen. This is like a waking knowing that I've had within me for over 10 years of where our nation's going and the human trafficking of our women is going in the future. It all comes back down to this lack of compassion. I've even seen people that say that they are vegans show no compassion for humans that are innocent, that are murdered. Why do they have such an anti-human ideology? How are they more pro-animal or pro-nature if they're going to blame all humans for the destruction and lives of so many animals? You know, I'm feeding some cats. One mother cat had some kittens. That mother cat programming to see me as a predator is not evolving despite the months of feeding that has contributed to her health and the health and safety of her kittens. That blueprint is not evolving in that cat. And just because they're a part of a nature organism doesn't mean that violence is removed from the equation. When I wake up today and for the first time ever there's a bloody corpse of a dead bird and yet that's food for the animals. Many vegans out there promote anger towards humans while almost discussing like the natural world as pure, without an explanation for that cat's necessity for that bird's blood and spilled guts to be feasted on, fancy feast for all these cute little kittens. And so there's something wrong there. And even say, in some cases, a darker agenda when someone claims to be of a vegan mindset but doesn't have compassion for innocent victims of war. My final thoughts, one of the ways that we can overcome our lust for zombie women is to realize the last thing we would ever want to do is procreate with another member of the human species that doesn't have compassion for innocent men, women, and children. So why would he want to, quote unquote, chase that ass? We wouldn't want to, unless we were another zombie ourselves, willing to procreate under a zombie, barbarian, Neanderthal-like creature of sorts, ready to continue to serve out the agenda of the New World Order. And I think a lot of human procreation is just that. People of like minds that are already serving the system to a certain degree or a part of the hive consciousness. And this goes beyond genetics, but can include it to a certain degree in certain time-space realities. But it really goes beyond genetics, and it's about a vibrational frequency of people of a certain spiritual level. And at the same time, you can also see nature, right, producing amazing people that came from parents that are basically no good, just breeders. Some humans are just here to eat, defecate, and repeat that cycle. Eat, defecate, breed, attack, repeat. Now it gets more complex because now people can create media where they support other humans that go attack for the tribe to get the resources. So now things are getting really wacky now in the human animal kingdom. But this lack of compassion cannot go on forever and ever and ever without it affecting those societies that are operating without compassion. Suicides will increase, addictions will increase, human abductions will increase, social ills increase, things increase until people can no longer lie to themselves. I don't know if there's going to be a day where people look back at some of the videos that I've created and go, oh my God, this guy wasn't totally crazy, although he sure seemed to be crazy to the people at the time. He sure seemed to have very few views and support at the time. And then we look back from the vantage point of the 2030s. Was this all a bunch of incoherent babblygoo at the youtube.com/AlexAnswery YouTube channel? And I think time will tell. But I think time already has told. I remember writing in 2010 saying, you know what, in the New World Order, I see cuddle houses where people pay to cuddle. Fast forward to Valentine's Day 2015, a couple months before I left Portland for the last time. I'm sitting there with a megaphone, baby. Megaphoning the cuddle house. The cuddle house. Dun, dun. It's like I'm looking for a jingle. Gotta have the money, honey. Then you can get all nice, like you're getting close to mommy again, or some sort of divine feminine. Ah, yes, my baby. Oh, you've been so broken down by the urban complex. Well, your time is up. That'll be $59.95. $1 a minute a cuddle. Oh, you know what? You're a regular. You know what, Joe? I like you. You know, Joe, you're a really good person. $49.95 for you. In fact, Joe, if you really do want to cuddle with Steve, we'll make sure Steve will be here next week, and you won't have to deal with Samantha. There are theories as well, by the way, that some people that go into extreme alternative lifestyles are doing so because of a lack or a void somewhere else. Just food for thought. So I'm going to end this video now. I'm inspired, and I'm going to come back with more. I want to thank that video content creator. We'll have a link to his channel down below. I'm going to come back later on the day and continue to discuss these issues. But people are looking for solutions. The solution's within. We should seek to be more compassionate, especially when we're offended by the lack of compassion from others. We should seek to be compassionate for all living creatures and the earth. There are many people right now on this planet amongst us. It seems that their existence is to turn us away from that level of compassion and towards the God of this world, the demiurge, or the archon interference. So again, thank you, content creator, new friend online, for sharing that information. I'm Alex Answer, reminding all of you, don't despair. Take a deep breath and realize the path to the ultimate truth. Why do we know these things? Why do we feel these things? The path to the ultimate truth and place of power still lies within.